Hello, and I'm back with yet another worth a buy video, and today we're checking out Stray Blade, a new action RPG adventure game with some Souls elements developed by a German indie dev studio Point Blank Games. The launch was a bit rough with mostly negative Steam reviews. Now it's mixed and going up, and I don't know, I think it's a bit harsh, but let's find out what's going on. Mighty Melvo here, and today we're taking a closer look at what Stray Blade has to offer in terms of visuals, combat, and other mechanics, controls, sound effects, story, and of course performance and bugs. Yeah, there are some bugs. Look at how laggy it is. I can see it already. And try to answer the question, is it worth picking up in its current state? I have a lot of things to say, but I'm always extra careful with spoiler material, so no worries, you can consider this video spoiler free. Also, it's worth mentioning that I'm playing on PC, and some of the issues I'm talking about in the video are only applicable to the PC version of the game.
You aren't making sense.
Let's get some things out of the way right now. Stray Blade is not your average Souls-like experience. You won't find bonfires, flasks, and souls you lose upon death here.
That's it?
There are shrines that serve as spawn points, but they work differently. I'd say Stray Blade is an old school, in a good way, action-adventure game with strong emphasis on combat and exploration, with a slight learning curve and Metroidvania/Souls elements, say a challenging version of Fable. In Stray Blade, you play as Farron West, a cocky explorer/adventurer who discovers an ancient magical land where everything goes tits up almost instantly. Farron dies and gets revived by a mysterious part wolf, part Scottish chav Bodgie. Unfortunately, you cannot create your own Farron West, you can only choose their body type and voice. The game also has a difficulty slider, and I, the mightiest of Melvos, obviously picked the hardest one, got my ass handed to me a few times by the first mob, humbled down a bit, and changed it to hard. Oh, no. Damn it, I'm dead. Ay, how dare you! I will talk more about difficulty later on in the video. Let's start with what, in my opinion, Stray Blade did well. Visuals and sound design. It's always hard to talk about visuals objectively. One man's junk is another man's treasure, but I'd say Stray Blade looks good. You are looking at it right now. Charming, rather. For a change, it's not dark fantasy-esque, it's not high fantasy-esque, middle fantasy-esque, it's almost cartoonish. Stylistically, it reminds me of, I don't know, Warcraft 3 or Torchlight. And it's a good change, it's relaxing and cozy, simple and pretty at the same time. Sound design is lovely too. I really enjoyed the music, for instance, except for a few weird and out-of-place guitar rock solos. Impact sounds are very beefy and I like them, except for this one. Did you hear that sound? It sounded like he's slapping the ground with like raw fish. Voice acting is good too. Nothing groundbreaking, but it doesn't have to be.
Tasty.
All in all, what you've seen and heard in trailers, teasers, is there. It's delivered the way it was promised. It's just, you know, some little things look cheap. That's the word I was looking for. Main menu, for example, looks like my school PowerPoint presentations. Okay. Fonts are, I don't know, what's this font? Arial? Times New Roman? Well, at least it's not Comic Sans, right? Boop, boop. I can see that visually, Stray Blade won't be everyone's cup of tea, but there are some other things in the game that might interest you if you look past the visuals. Combat, for example. Yeah, quite simple, it has a learning curve. Enemies have two types of attacks that are indicated by little icons above them or glowing colors. Blue attacks are the ones you have to parry, and red are the ones you have to dodge. Simple, yeah? Yeah. Get f***ed. See, most of the enemies you encounter have delayed attacks, so you kinda have to let them hit you a few times to get the timings right. It's called trial and errorism, but in a game where you die a lot by design, it's not too big of an issue in my opinion. What can be an issue though, is that some of the attacks are badly telegraphed or so sudden you're pretty much being punished for not knowing instead of being punished for making a mistake or button mashing. Oh, come on! How am I supposed to know? But again, with some practice, it stopped being an issue for me. Another important mechanic to mention is poise. You have poise, enemies have poise, and it works akin to Sekiro. You don't have to drop enemies' health to zero, instead you can drop their poise and perform a powerful attack that insta-kills smaller enemies and deals massive damage to bigger enemies. Your movement in combat is restricted by a stamina bar, and perfect dodges and parries restore some of your stamina. Your first impression of combat in Stray Blade could be that it's sluggish, slow, and not fun, but I think Stray Blade is just trying to do its own thing here, and combat takes time to get used to. The reason why I'm promoting Stray Blade combat so much is because a lot of players with like 0.4 hours on their record spewing hot takes about the combat being bad. If you're one of them, all I'm saying is give it another go. It works and it can be fun. Ooh! That was awesome! That was really good! In between combat situations, you are exploring the world. To be honest, I was expecting more linear, like corridor-y experience, but it isn't. The locations are quite big actually. Like, there's this one obvious path you need to take to progress, and lots of detours, nooks and crannies, caves to check out. While exploring the map, you unlock shortcuts and being rewarded with crafting materials. Stray Blade has a crafting mechanic we'll talk about more later, and lore pieces. Stray Blade also has a map that needs to be unlocked first by interacting with a specific object. The map works alright, but I more than often find myself ignoring it while playing. The world here is not as complex as, let's say, in Control, where you have to check your map every 5 minutes. Well, at least I check the map every 5 minutes in Control. I'd say exploration in Stray Blade is quite satisfying and engaging. I always look forward to new lore pieces and brief conversations with Bodji that shed some light on the world.
Astounding. There's always more to find.
The story. The story in Stray Blade is there. Nothing out of ordinary. You are Farron West, a translator turned adventurer who got a bit lost and a bit dead. After being revived within the premise of Akreya by Bodji, who later on becomes your companion, your goal is to leave the valley. To do so, you need to defeat 3 bads, collect stuff from them, and meet up with the Great Sage, roughly speaking. Like I said, nothing out of ordinary. Although the story is somewhat predictable, it's interesting to learn about the world and watch Farron and Bodji communicate, slowly building their relationship. Both characters have the same destination and different agendas. The Valley of Akreya is very rich in its culture and history, and you can find out quite a bit about how it was like before the society fell. Many areas have interesting tidbits of lore, so if you don't skip the lore items and talk to Bodji whenever you can, you might enjoy it the way I did. It's quite lore rich.
You aren't making sense.
We still have a lot of things to discuss, but I want to casually remind you that if you want to support me, the best way to do so is to subscribe to the channel and turn on all the notifications. It massively helps. Cheers. Now let's talk about Stray Blade mechanics. Like I said earlier, Stray Blade is not your average Souls-like, and you don't lose anything when you die. Instead, there's a pretty standard level up system. Every time you level up, you get a skill point. You can invest in one of the passives in the skill tree. Well, calling it a skill tree is overselling it. It's just a bunch of passives that give Farron more health, more stamina, or let them hit harder. Mastering a weapon gives you more passives that you can permanently unlock. No need to keep using said weapon. Some might find this mechanic tedious and annoying, but I think it works good here. First of all, the game kind of pushes you to experiment and try new weapons, and it makes sense that Farron can unlock their full potential by mastering every weapon available. By finding new lore pieces, you get lore points you can invest in Bodji. Bodji's also got a skill tree, and it's way more interesting. Unlocking spells for Bodji to cast to help you in battle is like super cool. When you die, enemies respawn unless you clear said area first. This is a new thing. You enter an area that has, say, 5 soldiers. You kill 4 of them and die to the last one, then you respawn and have to fight them all over again. And once you kill all 5 of them, you get a prompt saying enemies cleared.
Entering our lands.
If you die to a trap or fall to death after that, the area will remain empty, but after some time it will be repopulated with random enemies again. Sometimes it will be soldiers again, sometimes aggressive fauna. Sounds good on paper, but I find it rather annoying. You can't teleport between shrines, and sometimes they are few and far between, so if you miss one porcupine out of 3 and die, you have to fight them all over again. Well, you don't have to fight them. Most of the time you can just run past them, but you can't open chests, for example, when enemies are near. I think it just tickles my ADHD way too hard, that's all. So it might not be a problem for you. Crafting is another important mechanic in Stray Blade. While adventuring, you find blueprints you can later on turn into weapons and armor, given you have the required amount of claws and teeth and other stuff, and a forge. Forges can be found in enemy camps and other random places in the world. Crafting is super simple and not that interesting, unfortunately. You just hold down a button and poof, it's done. Every time you craft an item, you see the same little cutscene that, thank you very much, point blank, is skippable. In my opinion, there's no need to show it every single time you craft an item. Same with the little death cutscene where Boji drags your body to the nearest shrine. It's fun only the first few times. I'd like to mention the difficulty as well. You have 4 options, and Farron must die. The hardest one is just not very good. Farron must die. Are you sure you want to start your adventure now? No, a little bit later. How about in 10 minutes? It's pretty much a challenge difficulty times 2. Enemies are 2 times chunkier, deal 2 times more damage, and you deal less damage. In my opinion, this type of challenge is just not worth the time. What's really cool is that there's a custom difficulty setting where you can set all the modifiers the way you like it. Controls! The game controls wonderfully with the gamepad. I'm using an Xbox One gamepad and have no issues whatsoever. Although some players report that the game does not support PlayStation controllers, I can't vouch for that. Let me know in the comments if you have any issues with a PlayStation controller. Let everybody else know. When it comes to mouse and keyboard, it's more complicated. I tried playing with mouse and keyboard and I don't like it. I found myself fighting the camera more than fighting mobs. And I have a weird opinion in regards to this. I kinda understand that people are upset that a PC game can't be played with what comes with a PC mouse and keyboard. But at the same time, I can't imagine myself playing a third-person action game without a controller. Why am I using mouse and keyboard, by the way? No. We're playing a Souls-like game. If you don't have one and expect Neo level of mouse and keyboard support, you won't find it here, unfortunately. It is probably safer to wait for mouse and keyboard controls to be fixed before buying the game. If you already have the game and play it with mouse and keyboard, let me know how it feels down in the comments. Performance. I have no issues, but I play in 1080p. It's 70 plus FPS at all times. My specs are in the description if you're curious. A few times I experienced textures popping in front of me, but nothing to be pissed about. Although, if you are 2K or 4K Chad, you might have some issues with Stray Blade. I couldn't get the footage, unfortunately, but the game was tested by a friend. He's playing in 4K with a 3070 Ti on board, and it's unstable as hell with 30 FPS most of the time. Console performance I know nothing about. Is it any good? Bottom line is, if you're playing in 1080p, you'll probably be alright given your specs are like mine or a bit lower, but the game should have stayed in the oven a bit longer. Still, it's not Wulong Fallen Dynasty or Bleak Faith Forsaken level of bad. Just giving you some heads up that there might be issues with higher resolutions. Bugs and cons. When it comes to bugs, there are some, but nothing fundamental or game-breaking. The most annoying one was when after picking up a new item, the prompt with its description remained on the screen after I closed the inventory. Same with subtitles. Sometimes they freeze up and stay on the screen. I mean, I know a way. You just go here and then do this and it disappears. But look at the subtitles. Subtitles are there. I had to lower the settings when streaming it on the 20th of April because it was quite laggy, probably because of my OBS, a few LUTs applied to the camera and animated overlays, and every time you change the graphics settings, the game drops you back to the main menu. Weird, isn't it? No, it lets you know that it will happen, but still, it's incredibly pissy. The other thing I think the game is lacking is separate save files. It's such a basic thing. Why isn't it there? I play the game on stream for like 3 hours and want to continue where I stopped the next day, but at the same time I want to beat the game off stream to make this review. Or I have another person in my household that wants a different body type Farron playthrough. I think this feature should be in any game, really, period. Some animations look very bad, like climbing up and down ladders for example, or jumping, but it's okay. Smaller dev teams are known for bad jumping animations, right? Bethesda. As I mentioned earlier, some of these repetitive little cutscenes might become annoying to some, like the one when you die or craft a new item. Anyways, here are some final thoughts. Stray Blade is a solid good game with beautiful environments, visually attractive design, heartwarming and sometimes goofy in a good way characters, lovely voice acting with no over-the-top obnoxious bullshit, tight combat that requires some skill and some time to get used to. But if you are going in expecting a Souls clone or something Soulsborne reminiscent, you will most likely be sorely disappointed. There definitely will be a fan base built around Stray Blade, but will you be among them? I don't know. I will be, I think. Stray Blade is a decent action-adventure RPG, it's well worth the price in my humble opinion and can be enjoyed for what it is. So, is it worth picking up? I'd say yes, if you're looking for a new, lore-rich adventure game with challenging combat, then Stray Blade might be the game for you. I think it's worth every penny. It's almost disgusting how happy I am with the game, so don't listen to me. Do your own research, because what I said here is my personal opinion. Watch more videos or streams on Stray Blade to decide if you want it or not. I'll be playing it on Twitch, so make sure to stop by if you have time. So, this is my opinion. What's yours? What do you think about the game? Do you have it already, or are you still considering getting it? Or maybe it's not up your valley entirely? Share your opinions down in the comments. And hey, if you have it and your record is past the refund time, come on, don't be upset, give it another go. Thank you very much for watching, leave a like and subscribe, and have a good one, see ya.